Welcome to the Creature Cast, the official Console Creatures podcast. I'm your host today, Steve Egvari, alongside me for now, Hayes Madsen from Inverse. How the heck are you today?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm very tired with these last 2 months, but I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, being tired, that sounds very familiar, and I feel you on that one. How are things been? I know it's been quite some time since you've last been on the show. Thanks
Yeah.
for hanging out, but how have things been?
Busy, working a lot, doing a lot.
Yeah,
It's just honestly been kind of a blur. Got another review to write next week and the week
of course.
after, and I
Yeah,
think the week after that too.
yeah,
Uh,
it
yeah.
never stops. Never stops. But thank you for taking the time to talk about what I think will be a very exciting conversation. I mean, the Outer Worlds 2 has been long gestating and building up some momentum for Xbox and Obsidian Entertainment. So I'm excited to get into it. I know Bobby, he will be joining us in just a moment to join in on this conversation. But let's kick things off. I kind of want to just get into it for the audience. Thank you all for taking time to listen to this. But Hayes, I want to throw it over to you. The Outer Worlds 2, from a very top level perspective, how are you feeling about it now that you had your chance to go hands on?
I am very positive, I think.
Yeah.
Almost across the board. I do think it's probably one of Obsidian's best RPGs to date.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of that is because you can really see the elements from across their history kind of at play in here. You can see inspirations from New Vegas, and you can see inspirations from Alpha Protocol, even First Outer Worlds and Pillars of Eternity, and so it really kind of feels like a culmination of what they're doing. And I think I was a little wary at first. The only downside I think this has is that I don't think it has as good of a narrative hook at the beginning. And even on a gameplay level too, I think this game starts out a lot slower than the first Outer Worlds. The comparison I used in my review is the first Outer Worlds was pretty quick to show its hand. It put all of its narrative themes on the table, gave you all your companions early, gave you all the gameplay elements, and then it just kind of trickled down from there.
Yeah.
But this I feel is the exact opposite, where it is a very slow build, and the further you get into it, the more you see the mechanical complexity and the choice complexity and the narrative complexity, and it just kind of unpacks more and more and more as you go.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think coming into this, I had kind of reserved expectations for this. While I love Obsidian, I mean, even going back earlier this year, I praised Avowed. It still is one of my favorite experiences this year for being a Western RPG. But that being said, and I followed Obsidian throughout the years and everything, I was a little disappointed in the first Outer Worlds. For as much as I liked it and everything, I felt like it was very safe, especially when we're looking at the comparison of Outer Worlds to New Vegas, which I think everyone out there always reserves that tentpole experience for New Vegas. So coming into this, I was like, I don't really know. Did I even want an Outer Worlds 2? Do we need it? What could it really do to kind of blow me away or even improve on that? And yeah, getting into the first hour, or maybe even 3 hours, I was a little hesitant because I was like, this is a slow burn, like you said. And even the hook, which we can kind of talk a little more about, or without really getting into spoilers or anything, just this idea of revenge across the cosmos. It just kind of felt like we've been there, done that. But then once you get past that, once you start, I would say once you get to the first main hub area of the game, you start it clicks. It's okay, here we are in prime time Obsidian Entertainment. Here are the moral quandaries. Here's the grayness of it all, where you're choosing between two sides. And are you making good decisions? Are you making bad decisions? No one really knows. You're dealing with this, all these corporations and everything, and kind of really trying to unpack it all. But the writing is so damn strong throughout it that even in the peaks and valleys of it all, I wanted to get to the end. I wanted to see what the next narrative beat was going to be. I wanted to see what the next surprise was going to be. But to your point, I do agree that it's such a slow burn that even to the effect of some of the the guns and the weapons and everything. It all feels so safe in those first few
Yeah,
hours. That's
yeah,
until you start unpacking it all, really
exactly.
investing the time that you're like, oh, oh, now we're getting some really cool weapons. Now we're getting some really cool abilities and stuff like that. And honestly, by the end of it all, by the time I saw the full picture, I was like, they knocked it out of the park.
Hmm. I
They
think
they made me care about the Outer Worlds.
the other element there that's really interesting, and something that I actually went back and forth on quite a few times before landing on really liking it, is like, obviously, kind of one of the defining traits of the Outer Worlds is this satire of
Yeah.
capitalism, right? And
Yes.
mega corporations and oligarchy and things like that. And uh, even 6 years ago, I know one of the common complaints. I didn't necessarily agree with this, but one of the common complaints you found is like the humor and the satire was a little too on the nose. And this
Sure.
game does not tone that back at all. It dives head first into like even more so being about that,
Yeah.
and like the absolute extreme of capitalism and oligarchy and things like that. And it does not shy away from that in any way. And even liking the first Outer Worlds, I had a little trepidation the first few hours where I was like, this is coming on a little too strong, I think. Um,
Yes.
but again, that feeling kind of gave way as you get more into that complexity that we said, right? And like start to see more of the layers of these three different factions, and the companions come in, and you see how they filter those factions as well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think to your point, to your earlier point, by the time you start getting into the conversation of some of the companions and stuff like that, which I think that for the most part across Obsidian's games, they really always nail. They nail like the three dimensionality of all these characters, and I think that works to the benefit of the game. That by the time you start learning about these characters that are along for the ride with you, you start understanding the world a little bit better. You start understanding the inner workings of, like you said, the factions and the cause and effect of living in this universe with these corporations and these factions and everything. It just takes a little bit of time, but I think that I'll be kind of curious to know like your journey and how long it kind of took you to get there. But by the time I got to the end of it, going back, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by what Obsidian really pulled here.
Yeah.
Like I think that the conversation of do they get a little ham-fisted with some of the satire, some of the humor. I kind of missed that when I played Avowed earlier this year, where I liked Avowed, but it was kind of missing that satire, that kind of
Hmm.
that commentary almost, because it was like purely based within the Pillars of Eternity universe. It was more serious, like there was some charm and everything. But here it's like no holds barred. Like we're
Well,
trying
I
to
think
make you laugh. We're trying to give you like more of a like I said, like lean into the grayness of it all, that you don't know whether or not your decisions are really going to impact the world for the betterment or or really impact them for the worst of it all. But I think that's really what Obsidian kind of nails, and that's always kind of been their trajectory.
Yeah, and I think I touch on this in my review a little bit, but I think kind of one of the major concerns I had, and a lot of people had, is the difference of Outer Worlds 1 being made as an independent developer
Mm.
versus Outer Worlds 2 being made as a developer under
Yeah.
a mega corporation.
Yeah.
That, without getting too deep into it, does kind of fit the bill for a lot of what this game is saying.
Right.
And I'm glad, at least to me, that I don't think it feels like Obsidian shied away from the message it wanted to send at all. It
No.
didn't dilute the message. It didn't tone it down. It goes even harder into those ideas than the first Outer Worlds, like I said a minute ago. And I do respect that a lot about this game in particular.
Yeah. No, I do. I do too, because yeah, it is very interesting to even think about the Outer Worlds 1 came out in such a different era for Obsidian and Xbox and Microsoft, that now, yeah, like they weren't muzzled whatsoever. They were very bullish in a lot of their commentaries.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were not to spoil anything for anyone listening out there, but there were missions out there that I was like, oh damn, they're actually going to tackle this, and you can kind of pull like real world like comparisons
There's
to it.
one in particular that is like clearly inspired by a workers' rights issue with Amazon that happened last year.
Absolutely. And I got there, I was like, of course, I'm putting myself into this. I'm putting, my own reflections and everything. But I was like, no, this is clearly
Yeah,
a
it is
direct
it is
attack.
not trying to be subtle about it
No,
whatsoever.
no. And you have to respect that for them because they kind of wear that on their sleeve, and that's what the studio has always been. They've always been, someone who can take those swings. And I think, again, I think that if maybe that didn't vibe with you the first time around, it's not really going to vibe with
Mhm.
you this time. I don't think that they change anything or they pull any kind of punches to make that more inviting. But if you can get behind it, I think there's a lot to unpack in this game. And I think that the commentary along the way is pretty tantalizing. I think it's pretty attractive. I had a lot of fun going through it and kind of figuring out where my character belonged in this universe.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different like layers to it, right?
Yep.
Like, because in the first Outer Worlds, like part of how you had to, if you wanted to get the ideal kind of best ending, there wasn't necessarily like a good ending or a bad ending, but kind of
Sure.
the best ending. Part of the way you had to go about that is by basically saying no to all of the corporations in that game,
Right.
turning them all down and not working with them. And there are a lot of elements of that here where like it's not clear cut, and the game doesn't try to make like a good guys or bad guys kind of thing.
Yep.
And I think what's really fascinating is that you actually see a lot of parallels between the three different factions. They intentionally try and show you like, yeah, the anti's choice corporatists have a lot more in common than they think with the authoritarian protectorate.
Sure. Yeah,
And so
and
it
I
kind of
think
draws those lines.
the further you go in, I think that you kind of find that they're all kind of on the same level in some ways, if that makes sense. Where like to me, like by the time I started getting through it, I was like, oh well, Anti's choice is going to be the worst of the bunch. Like that's just what you're kind of hearing, the scuttlebutt around and everything. And then the further you go in, you're like, well, maybe not.
Mhm.
Maybe not. But like, of course, you're all also putting in your own character into all of this because like there's so much customization. Of course, it's a Western role playing game that you can really. I think that this is one of the best in terms of like creating a character and kind of having it live and breathe within one of Obsidian's games. I'm kind of curious, like, as we start like kind of like cornering in on this conversation, like how did you choose to play? Like was there a specific archetype or did you kind of be like a jack of all trades? Like how did you really
You know,
create your character?
when I played the demo, I played as like the idiot who just doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to do that again, but I kind of went more on like the engineering and speechcraft kind of thing.
Interesting. Okay.
Um, and I would say like I don't know if you agree, but I pretty quickly felt like I learned in this game that like you should really specialize in one or two skills and
Yeah.
not try and do like a jack of all trades, because there's a
Yeah.
lot of skill checks that have surprisingly high requirements in this game.
Yep.
But I think it's interesting because it gives you a lot of different ways, like almost an overwhelming amount of ways to solve things and to go about quests and to navigate these factions. And like it's a game that I feel like I could play two or three different times and have it be completely different. um, but
Absolutely.
I initially went with the gambler, and then I got the luck perk on top of that, and
Yep.
that turned out to be great because there are so many moments in this game that I can just use my luck perk, where I'm like trying to hack into someone's computer, and I get an option that's like randomly smash the keys. And I'm like, oh, okay, we'll do that. Or there's like a mathematical equation. I'm like, guess the answer, and you guess it right. And it's
Yep.
just like little things like that. And there's a lot of moments where like different little perks you have or skills you've invested in will kind of pop up, and you're not really expecting it. But I think it's done in a fun, kind of surprising way.
It is funny. I mean, it's funny for the conversation we're about to have, but I think it also works as a detriment. You and I played this game almost identical in that way. Like I chose the gambler, had the luck. I went for obviously speech because I was like, I want to kind of finesse my way
I
through some of
usually
these
go for this in
conversations,
this
right?
kind of thing. Yeah.
But then talking about this conversation of, yeah, you really should start honing in on your character. I did spend the first probably like 5 hours kind of diversifying my
Mm-hmm.
skill points a little too much. That yeah,
Yeah.
to your point, there are times when required or not required, but encouraged to hit some of these skill check marks of like, oh well, you could go down this way. and there's going to be treasure behind this door, but my skill or my lockpicking skills weren't, or my hacking wasn't enough. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, I could turn tail and kind of invest even more into this, but I had already started putting so much into speech, into guns, that I was like, man, if I really started going off the path that I'm on right now, I feel like that's going to be a detriment to my character.
Yeah,
But to
I
that
do
same
wish
point,
the game was a little better about kind of signposting that.
a little bit, right?
Like ultimately, it wasn't a huge issue because
No,
there's enough options on how to do everything that you can kind of circumnavigate
yeah,
to what you're specialized in. But there were a couple times where I was like, man, I wish I knew that I should have my speech skill at like 16 or something.
yep,
Because I'm even like, partially through the game, I'm like, I don't know what a high speech skill is going to be. Like, is 13 going to be enough for everything? And then,
right.
nope, it's not.
Yeah, I remember distinctly early on, you have this like pseudo like side mission where you're kind of trying to recruit a whole bunch of doctors. And along the way, one of them was like, well, I'm not going to go back to camp with you, but the skill check was 8. And I was at like 5, and I thought I was doing pretty good at the up until that point. But I was like, 8? Are you kidding me? Okay. So when started grinding out some levels, came back, like I knew I wanted to have speech as like a higher skill for me, but I didn't know it was going to like the ramp up or the expectations were going to be so high throughout the game. But yeah, I do think that for anyone kind of listening to this show, if there's something that you can take away from this, kind of really try to figure out and hone in what your character is going to be, because it's not like any other current Western RPG where they kind of let you be everything and everything all at
Yeah.
once. Like you kind of do have to figure out, do you want to be a hacker? Do you want to be, a kind of like a stealthy lockpick smith or something like that? You do kind of have to make your archetype and stick to it. Because even towards the end of the game, I felt like I could use more skill points to get the character that I really
Mhm.
wanted. And I don't know if you felt that same way.
Yeah, I did. I think that's an interesting point because I think like one thing that's really interesting about this is like, Obsidian obviously has its roots in
Mhm.
CRPGs.
Yes.
Um, and the Fallout games were kind of like the blueprint for combining CRPGs with traditional like first person Western RPGs.
Right.
And I feel like this is the best example we've seen of that idea. Of kind of fusing those CRPG ideas, which are very much about like experimentation and rolling a character and stats and things like that, like Baldur's Gate 3 essentially, and kind of integrating that level of dynamism and variety into that first person shooter kind of format.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Bobby, welcome to the show. Great. It came at a great time because we were just kind of talking about how we chose to play this as a character. Like, what was your character archetype? What did you find yourself investing skill points into? How did you go about this?
Oh, so what? Just so I would get caught up, what did you guys use? Because I went fully. I went brawn. I went. What was it? Not brawn? Lawmaker. I went
Mm,
fully. Good. And then everything I was investing in was basically anything with speech or engineering or hacking. Those are my top three because I was
I was
trying to.
in engineering too.
Yeah, because like I was like, you know what? I can blast through all these enemies, or I could talk my way out of these things. And like and knowing how I could do things in Avowed and like just Hayes was saying, like some of the CRPGs that they made, like you can kind of talk your way out of situations. I kind of wanted to do that in this one, so I just stuck to that, and it's been working so far. But I was gonna go completely opposite and just go, God, what was it? I think I was just gonna go. I think it was like the ex-convict, and then basically just be mean spirited and just be blasting at people and then just focus on melee ranged and just things that would make me kill faster. But I was like, I'm gonna go fully good in this game, and just kind of happy I did, because from the preview session that we did in August,
yep.
the way that the story was being set up, it was kind of like, well, it's a revenge tale, so like I don't want to be full evil, and like this person may have wronged me, but I mean, it's the first time I feel this character was jaded, so I want to kind of just use that momentum to
Mm,
bring this person in, because they really did something that I didn't like, and it really hurt a lot of people, and why not be the full extent of the law? Be the Chuck Norris of these space, whatever they're like, space cops, whatever they are. And I was like, all right.
Yeah,
so
the Earth Director.
That's kind of what I did. So I was like, yeah, that was kind of my place. That's kind of what I am doing. I'm still not 100% done, but so far I've been just like a lawmaker, and I love it. It's so much fun. There's a lot of great conversation choices that are always popping up, and they're kind of corny because, like, I don't know, it feels kind of like a sheriff, like you're saying some really dumb things that only a sheriff would say.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where I've been.
You're kind of a ignorant sheriff.
That's the thing. You're kind of ignorant because you're just like, you're like fully good, and it's like, well, if you're fully good, you're kind of ignorant. You're ignorant because you're not seeing, through the grapevine.
Yeah. There's certainly a fun element where, like, you're initially cast as like you're the arbiter of justice who's going to like turn the whole galaxy right, and it's very intentionally like that at first, but you're meant to kind of question, like, am I really doing that?
Yeah, I find it so interesting because, like, yeah, you can go into this game with the best of intentions. Like, Bobby, just before you popped in, that Hayes and I kind of played it in the same aspect of like being the gambler. So we're always rolling the dice, and then I think even though we're all three of us are kind of like the Venn diagram, like you two both went into engineering, I was more of like the guns and the speech and stuff like that. Then you kind of pull back the layer, and something that I found really unique about Outer Worlds 2 is when you get into the flaws and those kinds of aspects and everything. Like on the regular, for people who are unaware, on the regular, you'll get a pop-up notice on screen being like, hey, here's a flawed perk. And essentially it will come with like a very negative roll on your character, but it will also create some like fun dynamism in how you interact with the character, how you interact with the world. There could be like some positive perks in there as well. What were like, I want to pull a question in from Adam Gumbert here, who said most interesting character / gameplay builds you've seen so far. And I kind of just want to know, like, as we start pulling back the curtain on some of like the complexities of our characters, like what were some of the flaws that you found? And because so many of them you can choose to either accept or deny, were there some that you were like, oh no, I'm going to take this just for the fun of it or the challenge of it? Yeah, I just want to know.
The one that I got pretty early on was kind of the consumerism flaw.
Yep, me too.
And I took it because, like, I played this game like I play Fallout, where I scavenge absolutely everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I got it initially because of that, but I did not expect how much it would give me new dialogue options.
Sure.
Where I'm like, it paints you as like the stupid consumer.
Yep. Yeah.
Like there's a bunch of dialogue options where you're just like, am I able to buy that or something like that? It's just a bunch of very funny dialogue options where you play the role of the stupid, ignorant consumer.
Yep.
And I did not expect it to unlock as many options as it actually did.
It really does go like on the regular. You're interacting with characters and there's like an additional dialogue choice. Yeah.
It makes me wonder how many other flaws do that. Because I picked up a couple others, but I've turned down most of them so far for a first playthrough. Second playthrough, I'm going to load up on every flaw I can, basically.
Just be a terrible, terrible person. Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. Bobby, how are you?
So, because my character is like the do-gooder, and I know you guys, Steve, I know you play Call of Duty, but I got over-prepared as my first flaw. Which basically, because I'm always reloading. In Call of Duty, you know it is. Like, you shoot through bullets, you're reloading. At least that's just me. So, like, and this one basically, like, it gives you more ammo for some guns. But once you reload, like, you do less damage for, like, I think it's like 10 seconds.
Yep.
So that's what my big flaw. I took that because I'm like, that's fair. I mean, like, that's kind of how I play. So, like, I'm always reloading. And that's the first one that I was just like, well, that fits my character. Because, like, he's always trying to shoot his gun.
Sure.
At enemies, but like he's not trying to like hurt everyone. Like he's like a Texas Ranger kind of guy. And I was like, okay, well, let's keep that going. And then I was just like, yeah, like there are some really stupid ones I saw. I'm sure you guys saw like the kleptomaniac one, and I was like, I'm not stealing much stuff. I think I'm stealing at most just like the shunts and the picks, and that's basically all.
Oh, sure.
But that's basically it.
One that I almost took that I thought was really interesting. I can't remember what it's called, but there's one that gives you like an extra perk point every time you level up, but it chooses which perks you get randomly. Like you can't choose which ones you get.
Yeah,
Is that
and I was like, I was that close to taking it.
No, that's an additional flaw, or at least it was for me. I got it through throughout playing, and yeah, that was the one where I was like, I literally put my controller down, and I was like, this is one that could fundamentally change my playthrough of this game. I pulled up screenshots of mine. So I have the consumerism, I have the overprepared flaw, I have dependent, which I thought that was a really interesting one, which is you get negative 10% damage, but 25% additional damage to enemies recently damaged by a companion. And I'm always rolling in with my two favorite companions, Niles and Marisol. Marisol, I absolutely adore.
Phenomenal. One of the best characters Obsidian's ever made.
Yeah, honestly, that storyline throughout, I was like, oh my god, I'm so in for this. Yeah. And the voice actor who does her voice is incredible too. But yeah, I was like, okay, well, I'm always going to be rolling in with my homie, so absolutely, I'm going to take this. And then yeah, so I thought it was a very thoughtful way of approaching character creation, customization by introducing these flaws and kind of giving players an additional layer of how do I make this my own? How do I make these kind of tough choices as the game recognizes the ways that you're playing?
Yeah. I wasn't sure if they stack because I picked that. I mean, I don't know what you guys pick. I missed that. Like when you're creating your character, I did pick that trait where it's like you get 2 skill points at the start. And like I don't know if that stacks. I don't know if they considered that or not because I didn't get the second pop-up saying like you can do it again, but it randomly assigns it. Like, so I don't know if that's like it's something that's stackable because that would be interesting.
I think it's technically 2 different flaws because I know the one that you're talking about, like when you're creating your character and it's like, oh, you can have an additional 1 point or 2 points, but then then you have to remove like
5 of them,
skills entirely. And that one, I was like, I can't do this. This is too much anxiety.
I picked it. I was like, yeah, let's try it. Like, what's gonna happen? Because there are some stuff that like I'm looking through. I'm like, I probably wouldn't put points in this at all. So it's like, okay,
yeah.
And this is like he said, this is not a game where you're playing it once. You have to play at least 2 or 3 times to get a really good sense of it. And like that's what I want to do. I'm going to do something complete opposite. Like I'm thinking my next playthrough, I'm going to play someone who's totally stupid and just kind of see how far I can get before I quit. Because like it just seems like it's built for that level of replayability where you can basically really experience the same story, but like you're going to be doing it in a vastly different way. And like I kind of like that. I mean that's kind of like what Avowed and Outer Worlds 1 kind of did, but this is kind of more to that extreme. Like it feels like it's just more of that, but way bigger.
Yeah, and to that point, I'm kind of curious. How long have both of you played the game?
Oof. I think I'm halfway, so I'm like 25 hours in.
Okay.
I'm gonna try and critical path it tonight, so I can at least try and get something out for tomorrow. But like it's been hard. It's just like I don't know when it's gonna stop. So it's just keep going.
I got an ending and I played for 50 hours, but at no point was I trying to do like critical path.
Yeah.
Okay. Until I realized where like the ending was coming up, and then I just kind of did it. So there's a lot of stuff that I can go back and do.
Yeah, like that's the thing. I skipped a lot of it. I mean, I did some things that kind of drew my attention. Like at the start, I was doing a lot more mission side quests and stuff like that. But then I was like, well, this thing's coming up, this deadline. I'm like, I want to at least have something out. Like, I don't need to get like a review out, but like, I want to at least talk about it. And I was like, yeah, I think I can clear it in about 40 hours, and I think I can probably do it by tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I wrapped up at around 45, doing quite a lot of the side stuff, but at a certain point, I was like, oh, we're coming up on a deadline, and with all due respect, I'm probably going to end up replaying this because I think
100%.
There's so many incentives to kind of re-roll and play a totally different way.
It's definitely bigger than Outer Worlds 1, but it's not like Bethesda big still.
No, it's
still
the
has that really like tight narrative focus.
Yeah, it's very thoughtful in its approach to level design, in terms of how much there is. I find that at no point did I feel like I'm doing side missions that were busy work. Like, they all have a pretty interesting narrative to it.
Yeah.
To varying degrees, but I never thought like, oh, okay, here's the, go into a basement and kill 5 rats mission of the
Well, and
story.
even like there are occasionally ones, like there was one I got where I had to go kill a bunch of raptidons, but there were like some interesting twists.
Yes.
You get in,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I'll just go kill some stuff. But
Yeah.
there was some interesting like little narrative twists that happened with it, and that kind of stuff happens a lot.
Yeah. So I do wonder how much, by the time I get to a second playthrough, I'm wondering how much of the side content I'll be invested in, given the fact that I'm playing as a different character and stuff like that. I'm wondering, because like, yeah, to your point, Hayes, earlier, like there are dialogue options that are locked specifically to how you play. So I wonder how much of that is going to be kind of reflective on a different character or a different play style. But I do think that overall, this is probably comparative to what we saw in Avowed. I think in terms of its breadth, in terms of its length, in terms of the number of side quests and everything like that. I just think that it's a little more detailed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just a step above Avowed, and it's a little bit more cohesive. I feel like, I mean, I do prefer the space setting compared to the fantasy setting this time.
I think particularly, I like the companions in Avowed, but
I love them.
I think if anyone was disappointed by kind of like the complexity of companions and their personal quests and how much there was to do with them, and I think this is going to like really kind of scratch that itch for you.
I think so too.
I like the companions of Avowed, but I love the companions of Outer Worlds too.
Yeah,
pretty much across the board, like all of them.
I agree with you guys. I mean, like, I think we all Marisol and Niles, because like that's kind of who I kind of gravitate towards.
Most of the time, yeah. I like Tristan a lot too, because he's
Tristan's very good.
He's very argumentative, and I enjoy that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like I kind of agree with you. Like the Avowed has great companions, but like these ones are like, I feel like they're more fleshed out. And like the more so, like I do like that, like they're just like they're always willing to help you, and like whatever you need, like they're there. And like I don't know, I feel like they're just more upbeat this time. Like I think it's more just the setting. They're more just go-getters.
I think there's also something to say about how useful they are in combat, having them have like actual command abilities that you can call upon, but then also like Niles, for instance, having the ability to craft when you just, interact with them and stuff like that. Like that's really cool.
They have abilities that can like pretty drastically affect combat too. Like Marisol has these energy canisters that she throws out, cool. And you can grab them yourself to get like a shield boost, or you can shoot them when they're by enemies to do a little explosion. And
same with
every
Valerie.
companion kind of has a little element like that. Like 2 elements you can choose between, essentially.
Right.
How you want them to alter or affect combat.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I like about it. Like there's a lot of synergy between everybody. You can kind of pick and choose who you want to use. But I was kind of stuck with the first 2 opening companions, because I'm like, this is exactly what I need. I have access to all the things, all the mods, all the crafting I need, and I get healed if I really need it. So
yeah.
And that's kind of what Valerie was. I had to struggle to get rid of her. I'm like,
This applies to companions too, but I think one of the things this game is really good at is, if you want to, I guess the best way to say it is like sequence break. If you want to do things out of the order that you're intended to do them. So like, for example, when you get is Aza her name, the assassin party member? When you get her, you're supposed to get to this like factory. You're supposed to go through this area, and you meet her there, and then you go to the factory. And I ended up finding a way to get around the factory by jumping on a rock in the river.
Oh, no way.
The factory. And I did all that, and then I went and found her there, and there was a whole thing about like, oh, I already went and killed all those people that you want to kill. And she's like, well, you take me there so I can make sure that you're not lying to me? You gotta go take her there. And she's like, okay, well, you did.
See, that's sick. Yeah, I think I stumbled upon something similar on one of the quests, where I stumbled upon like an encampment that I had to clear out during a quest, but I did that beforehand, and I came back and like you're interacting with the guy, and I was like, oh, I already did it. Here you go. And you just kind of flash forward throughout
Yeah.
the dialogue there, and
It's
I
very
thought that was
good
really
about
clever.
accommodating the choices and the order that you do things.
Yes. Yeah, for people out there that are like, "Oh, well, I'd rather explore first rather than take on all the quests at the, in the main township and everything," like, I think that's totally viable. I think that's totally something that the game can accommodate. Yeah, I think that's a really cool. I had no idea that you could venture out and, like, get over that
Mhm.
that little area to kind of quick
That
like, make that faster. That's funny.
I've noticed that Obsidian games are pretty good for that. Like I even in Avowed, like I did have that situation. I like it was an early quest. Like I think it was one of those early ones where you get like a sword, like you fight. I can't remember who it was. Remember that fire sword you get at the beginning? Like you can get
Yep.
that before a lot of stuff, and it was like, oh, you already fought this guy, you got everything. So it's like, yeah, thanks for doing it. And that's what I like about this game. Like there's a lot of open-ended freedom to how you approach this game. Like, and it's just like you could feel like you're gonna break this game, but then you end up doing stuff that are like, oh, well, no, you kind of went ahead and were proactive and you did it for me. So here's your experience and here's some money and have some fun.
Yeah.
Like, I love that. I love that the fact that it's just like, well, okay, you really don't need to be locked into one route. Like I said, like I've been doing. Like I'm not really locked into what I'm doing. I'm trying to be a lawmaker, but there are times where I'll steal. Like I love that freedom, and it's just like small things like that, and it does make a difference that you're not really chained down to how you approach like a level or a mission. And that goes back to like Skyrim stuff. Like I know you guys have done this. Like you would climb the mountain with the horse and just try to get over this to get past a mission you're doing, and it's kind of stuck around. Like I feel like that's maybe something they picked
thing
up.
I haven't fully tested, I guess, is like if you really break the law or you try and just like straight up murder people in cold blood. I haven't seen how that affects things.
No.
I'm scared to do it, but
yeah, I have to. That's why I haven't done it.
Like, yeah, I don't want to, but like I said, my next playthrough, I really just want to be a piece of garbage. Like I want to be a trash heap and just basically just be selfish and see what happens. And I'm excited to see how that affects everyone's, opinion of my character, because like so far everyone has really been really good to my character. I'm like, okay, well, let's flip it on its head and see how we can break this game, because everything I've thrown at it so far has been like able to match whatever they're doing. I'm like, that's pretty impressive.
Sure. One of the things that, and I think this is just something that Obsidian has within its DNA, they've been able to do it time and time again, but it's this balancing act between like perceived choice and actual choice that impacts the game, impacts the narrative and everything like that. And that could be something as small as talking to someone and the way that you're talking. It can be, there's repercussions hours down the road, or something like a narrative beat that really does impact. Like there is without spoiling, there's a choice in this game, like fairly early on, and it happened, and I was like, oh shit, I don't know what I did to really get here, but I feel really icky right now. Like this kind of feels shitty. And again, like there's a series of character interactions that I had throughout the game, and you're building rapport with this character and everything. And I got to a point, and going back to this idea of like, having enough skill points to do certain things, I got to a point where I was supposed to help this guy out, and I wasn't able to because I didn't have the right skill check. And then that relationship was just totally screwed over. He ended up hating me, and that was kind of like the end of it. I was like, oh, damn.
It happened a couple times to me, yeah.
A lot of interesting cause and effect, too.
Yeah.
There's one minor villain that in one of the locations you go to, and I ended up like talking him down and getting him to stop and
I think we're talking about the same, yeah.
forsake his ways. And then later on, I found him working as a janitor.
What? Yeah.
Without spoiling anything, he was working as a janitor,
so
and I talked to him, and he told me this whole thing about how like, oh, this is so much more satisfying work than I ever did in science.
Yeah, yeah. So that exact, without giving anything away, that exact interaction, I wasn't able to get down the path that you did, and then the other person who was involved in everything was like, no, fuck you, man. Like you said you were going to help me. I was like, but I couldn't. I physically couldn't. I didn't have what I needed in this conversation. Yeah. But something that I wanted to bring up and kind of talk about was combat in this game. And you and I kind of talked about it, but early on, I felt like maybe the combat and some of like the gunplay would be kind of underwhelming. But the further I got into the game and the further you get, you know, new skill points and perks like that and new weapons especially, I feel like this is probably, and I don't know if this is, I don't think that this is in any contention, this is probably the best playing Obsidian Entertainment game that I feel like it just feels so smooth. The gunplay feels good. There's a slide functionality in there that I found was really cool. Yeah, I'd like to go around the horn and kind of hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. I think a particular thing that makes this like a pretty big improvement over the first game is how much more involved like the modding system is.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Integrally kind of change how a weapon functions. And there's a lot of really great like variety to weapons.
Right.
I remember I got one, there was one bounty I did, and the dude I killed gave me a hammer that I used for a bit, and then I realized that the hammer was actually using my shotgun shells when I hit people with it. That was interesting. And there's like 8 or so different kinds of grenades that you can use, and all these different status effects, and like there's just a ton of variety. And like you said, the further you get in the game, you're getting more and more weapons and trying stuff out. And occasionally I'd buy a weapon and think it was going to do one thing, and then realize like, oh, it's actually doing something completely different.
Yep. Yeah, it is interesting. Like, I wouldn't go as far as to say like they Borderlands did, where every weapon is unique and looks different and has all these like crazy status effects and everything. But I was genuinely surprised by how many thoughtful ideas that they included in there. But it just kind of made gameplay feel super unique and super fresh. That by the time I got to anytime that I felt like, okay, I'm kind of using like this, it's getting kind of samey within the combat and gameplay. I could just switch up what I was using. I'd find a new weapon. I'd find a new unique, and I'd be like, oh shit, this is really, really cool and thoughtful of, yeah, to your point, the hammer with the shotgun shells. And you're hearing it, like you hear like a little bit of feedback every time you hit them. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then there's all other ones that have like, I don't know, like so many different pistols or so many different rifles. The one thing I will say that I think could have been a little more refined or a little more, a little better of like an onboarding experience is the ammo types. It took me so long to be like, well, what ammo do I need for what? Like the short rounds sometimes work for SMGs, but sometimes work for pistols, and then long rounds are this and that. I was like, I'm going up to Niles, or I'm going up to a vending machine, just be like, I just buy them all. Just like, I don't know what I need or when I'll need it, so I'm just gonna have everything.
Yeah, the one exception there's like the plasma energy, or
of course, or the rockets. At one point, I was like, I got a rocket launcher. I was like, just keep this on me because I know I'm just gonna need to rocket someone to the sky. Like, yeah. But yeah, aside from that, I felt like there was a little too much diversity within the ammo types and everything that I kind of felt overwhelmed until hours down the road, I kind of started understanding it a little bit more.
Again, I think it really ties into that idea of like, this really is a slow burn experience where it's all about kind of like piecing things together and learning all the mechanics and the ins and outs of everything, and then seeing how it all comes together.
Yeah.
Did you guys end up getting the what's it called, the Spectrum Blade?
I don't think so. What's that?
So it's like it's kind of like in Saints Row, we had that gun where it shoots music.
Yeah.
So this one here, you have to like hit enemies to the beat of the weapon, and the more you hit the more damage you do.
What?
And it's something that you unlock, and I think there's also a pistol version of it, but it's like the coolest weapon so far in the game.
There's a bunch of like really unique weapons you can unlock on your ship when you get the decryption keys.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then and I haven't got the pop-up gun yet, but I'm trying to get that. Like, I want to get that. I want to use that. But it's so smart. It's so funny, and I'm surprised it took this long to any other game to just put a game where you're shooting up pop-up ads at enemies. So I love these, like the way the guns are just so bizarre they feel like they're straight up like out of High on Life more than anything. I don't think they more do with Borderlands, but like they're so like something Squatch would do. Squanch games. I think
Squanch, yeah.
yeah. And like I'm just like, this is so bizarre, but like there's so much fun. But
yeah,
my favorite combination so far is just basically the plasma pistol and a melee weapon, and that's kind of what I've stuck to. And it's usually just a sword. And once I found this one, I was like, oh, okay. I don't think I'm gonna stick. I'm gonna stick with this for a while, and it's just been so much fun because like you really have to listen to the beat, and then as you master that, like you're doing pretty crazy damage to enemies, and like they're falling pretty quickly.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I missed that completely somehow.
There's lots of weapons. Like I'm trying to start tracking them because like I've seen some stuff and I'm like I want to try and find those, but like I'm gonna probably wait till launch day when the guides are out. But like I've seen there's one that there's a grenade launcher that I don't know if you guys found it, but it shoots like a tumor at people.
I saw that.
Like blobs of like it's like there's blobs that explode on command. Like I'm trying to find that because I want a grenade launcher, just for chaos control. And like this is just like these are outrageous guns that like I'm kind of thankful we're getting because I don't remember any other game doing something like this on this scale. And like I mean, Outer Worlds has been a while since I played it, but I don't even remember getting those.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about the difficulty? Because I tried to play on hard most of the time, but I had to tone it down a good few times because it would just be like way too ridiculous.
Yeah, I found that I don't think it was necessarily the combat portion that I found was difficult. It was more like the healing. I felt like obviously in the game, for people that don't know, if you heal more than once, you can get I can't remember what they call, but it will basically like cut you off from being able to heal. Like, it will overdose
toxicity,
toxicity, yeah. And I feel like that's a cool mechanic. I actually love that conceptually, but I think that if you're playing on anything above normal, it kind of was at a detriment to that idea where like, yeah, I'm getting shot so many times. I feel like I'm just trying, and then all I'm doing is watching that gauge go down until I can heal again. Yeah, so is your point, like I was playing on normal for the most part up until like probably the last third, and I was like, I'm wasting time kind of battling the combat system, so I just bumped it down.
Quite a while too to figure out how I like put the different mixes in my inhaler to change how the healing works.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that for a good like 15 hours into the game.
Because again, the game doesn't really explain some of these nuances to the player. You kind of have to figure it out as you go. And the more you do, I think that the better the game is. But I do wish that some of it was kind of explained to you a little bit better on the outset.
I'm kind of in the same boat with you. I'm just playing on normal. I don't feel like I need to go above that. I mean, it's challenging in its own right. I mean, it's not just because like the enemies. It's just, you know, the systems. Like you have systems that are actively working against you at times, and like you said, it's the toxicity thing. And it's like, oh, and like I am that guy who unfortunately does rush in, and like I will take a bunch of bullets before I have to heal. And like that's just how I am. And it's like I'm getting punished for it because I'm so reliant on healing, and I'm struggling with that aspect. So that's why I've kind of taken my time too and just playing, because I keep having to reload. I keep having to restart something because I'm being taken down faster than I can remember. Because I didn't have this issue in Avowed, didn't have this issue in Outer Worlds, I didn't have this issue in even New Vegas. Like that's years going back. Like I remember being powerful and powering through things, and this one's actually doing my run for the money at this point. And like I'm surprised.
Yeah,
sure.
There's a couple companions you can spec into like healing support abilities that help with that a little bit.
100%.
Inez particularly, but
at the same time, it's like I'm trying not to be too reliant on them, because I mean, I've had issues with companions at some points, like even in other games, like they just wouldn't do what I was saying, and I'm just learning now that there's a system that Bethesda Obsidian put in place where if you screw around too much or you do things that your companions don't agree with, they can actually try and kill you. I don't know if you guys saw this, and I'm just trying not to cross them because I'm kind of curious if I did, who would turn their back on me and betray me.
Tristan is the easiest to make that happen because
Absolutely.
the game gives you a lot of opportunities to fuck with the protectorate, and he does not like that.
No, and I feel like I inadvertently have gone out of my way to make him not like me on
Every
many
time I get a quest that's like, I got to go to a protectorate base, I better not bring him for this one.
honestly, yeah, like you're saying on the ship, buddy. Like, although I did like him as a character, it was just I feel like he is just coded in a way to just make the game harder than it has to be.
Yeah.
I'm curious though, where did everyone play and kind of like some performance aspects? Because for me, it just so happened that we got our codes, a couple weeks ago, and I played a lot of it on the ROG Xbox Ally X. I was playing a lot of it purely for the novelty of having a game like this running on a handheld. I was playing it like on medium settings for the most part. It looked great on it, but then obviously this game really does shine on an actual console. Running at stable 60 frames. It looks beautiful. Like the art direction in this game is stunning. Some of the cutscenes in particular are Obsidian's best in my opinion. And yeah, I was really blown away by how well this game really ran, which for a Western RPG isn't always the case.
I played entirely on Series X.
Yeah.
I didn't have any performance issues, but I did have, I think, 3 times that it just like hard crashed for absolutely no reason.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. It was like at 3 and 50 hours is not a huge deal, but it did happen to me.
Yeah. PlayStation 5 Pro is pretty impressive. Like I've had no issues. It is probably one of the best looking Obsidian games I've ever seen. I think their art direction is probably this is like them firing on all cylinders. I think this is probably my favorite.
All the order stuff. Like the order's visual style and their locations. Oh man, I just love
the worlds are probably my favorite out of every game they ever made. These like just the look of everything. That's like this is the most kind of out there they've gone, and I love it. And I'm gonna do my second playthrough on my ROG Ally X because my trip is in a week, just over a week. I'm gonna probably bring it just to replay it on the plane. And I mean, I don't see any hurdles to prevent me from being able to start and finish it while I'm flying and around. So I'm eager to see how it plays on a handheld because I mean I feel like it probably would translate really well. And
yeah, it does.
Yeah, and I remember doing the preview session on my Steam Deck, and like that ran pretty fine. It was fine. It wasn't obviously like the best looking game, but
sure,
very little issues. But on PS5 Pro, I think it's probably one of the best looking games so far I've seen. Like just those cutscenes, like they really are like immaculate.
Yeah.
I think Avowed was the same way. I think the art direction is really what helps this game a lot.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. The music too. The music is great.
The music is there's actually a thing, an especially interesting thing to mention, and I will actually have an interview going up about this. That
very cool.
Each faction has its own radio station.
Yes.
And that radio station has like entirely unique audio dramas and songs, and little details, and like Obsidian told me they actually composed 20 unique songs for every faction, so 60 songs altogether.
Oh, that's very cool.
And some of the songs are very funny. Like the Order has one that's entirely about like the Fibonacci sequence and why it's so important. And they have a whole song where they literally just sing all the numbers. Well, I mean, not all the numbers, but they just sing pi for like 2 minutes straight.
I've heard that one, and it felt like a fever dream at first because
the Order is by far my favorite.
Yeah, because so many of these games like Fallout or anything like that. At times, I'll throw on the radio and while I'm walking around doing my thing, it'll play in the background. But a lot of the times that if I'm doing just busy work in these games, I'll throw on a podcast or something. But this was the first, I think, that I went out of my way to be like, no, I gotta listen to the radio because the music is so damn good. Some of these audio plays and stuff like that, they're really entertaining, and it seems like they put a lot of time and effort into it. And I feel like if you've been wanting to skip this, don't skip it. Like give it a shot, give it an honest shot. Yeah,
that's where I'm at too. I think the music is some of my favorite stuff so far. I really want to find a way to listen to all the audio dramas outside of the game because they're like they've been really good. I'm really hoping they lands on Spotify or Apple Music by launch because like there's some really good songs. Like even some of like the actual like song that they made for like the faction. Like I love them. They're so catchy. And there's one that they just posted today. Actually, I'll link it in the review, but that's just a sample of how like good the music is. Like it's so thoughtful. Like I'm surprised. It's like they invested so much time into just the music. I was like, there's so much variety. There's just so much depth to that. I'm like, whoa, this is different for an Obsidian game because I don't recall that kind of level of just you know variety in Avowed. Like it's I found it as much as I love that game. Like I found the music to just probably be my weakest aspect of it. I just don't remember much of it.
That's totally fair. Though I will say that coming to Outer Worlds 2, I feel like I finally understood how much the theme like score of the Outer Worlds really resonates with me. Like that first time that the titles pops up and you hear the theme, I was like, oh, I'm feeling something right now. Like it's getting to me, and I never expected that. I never expected that at all.
Yeah.
Is there anything we have not touched on? Any kind of other notes or comments or anything like that? Because I have one more audience question that I want to get to, but I just want to make sure we hit everything else before we start wrapping things up.
Not myself, but I know Hayes. You know, I talked about this earlier before we went on the show. I know you were saying like you're putting your review, but I mean, could you just maybe touch upon what we were talking about with the whole ironic situation that
we did?
Put themselves
we did touch on that briefly about kind of the difference of Outer Worlds 1 kind of being under an independent developer and this now being under Microsoft. And it's a thing that I think it's really hard to untangle kind of the space and time, no pun intended, that this game is made in, especially with everything Microsoft has kind of been rightfully under fire for quite a while, whether it's thousands of layoffs or closing studios or canceling projects or AI infrastructure or whatever it might be. There's a laundry list of things you could pick.
It's such a funny situation. Like I like we don't obviously get into it. It's so funny that it started as when indie production and now they've moved into a full-fledged factory and they're like, well, we're just going to churn these out and we have our overlords now. And everything that's kind of happened in the last 6 months has just been so eye-opening. And it's just like, I really hope that they keep their soul and Obsidian as a developer doesn't really fall victim to the whims of Microsoft. And like they are without a doubt my favorite and game studio within that stable, and like they are the most consistent and they are the most creative, I feel. So if this is
part of the hard part, I mean, with Tango getting shut down and Arcane Leon getting shut down, and it feels like despite assurances, it's hard to feel like anyone is really safe. And I do genuinely hope that Obsidian gets to keep making games like this, games that have this kind of topical variety to it and a real message and really want to say something. And in a lot of ways, it feels like this game came out in spite of everything. And I'm glad it turned out the way that it did in spite of everything. And I just hope that doesn't change.
100%. But I'm just if this is their last game, like they went out on top. This is such a great game.
And
I hate to say that because
but we don't need to doom yet. But
no.
But if this is their swan song, by all means, you guys have nailed it. Like this is one of my new favorite games. I'm really excited to see what a second and third playthrough comes with that, and because I'm off for the next 2 weeks, I'm gonna be able to do that. So like I'm really excited to see kind of where everything kind of lands. But I mean, for what it is a very impressive package from Obsidian. Like I'm so glad that it's finally here. We're finally talking about it, and I hope it leads to more games like this, because like we need more games like this. It's just it's such a refreshing, way to end 2025. Like, I know it's only October, but like we're pretty close to the end, and like it's so good. It's just been really fun to just get back into a game where it's kind of kooky, kind of zany, and
Yep.
it's not too distracting, where I'm always out for revenge in the wrong way. Like, it's not a serious game, and I love that for it.
I think what I appreciate the most about it is, like, I cover almost entirely RPGs a lot of
Sure.
times. I've played a lot of 100-hour RPGs in the last 2
Yeah.
years. And I felt the same way about the first Outer Worlds and Avowed to a degree, that I really appreciate that it feels like these games respect your time.
Yes.
Like, one, they're not too long in general, but two, you very much have the ability to engage with what you want to in the game. It is not pressuring you to do a million side quests or go out and do this or collect this resource. Like, it gives you everything you need and lets you do what you want and spend as long as you want with it. And I think that's something I appreciate even more with this game than I did with the first, just kind of because of how many big 100-hour games keep coming out.
Yeah.
It's just insane how many we've gotten in this year alone, right? And like I'm burnt out in that sense, where there's just like, I'm fine with playing for 30 hours. Like, I don't need to be sitting in the same chair for 100 hours to get a trophy, platinum trophy. And that's been the norm this year. And I'm like, I don't want that. Like, I love that Avowed, Outer Worlds 1 and 2 are 40-hour games at most. And
Sure.
you could basically move on, or if you want to keep going, like, there's all that you can do after. And it's like, okay, more of that, please. Developers, we don't need to be sitting in our chairs for 100 hours. I don't need to be playing FF7 Rebirth and trying to pull my hair out and that is my Moby Dick. That platinum trophy, I will never get it, because it is the most difficult platinum trophy I've faced so far. So yeah.
I do think that this last question will really help tie everything together, and then we can kind of finalize our thoughts here. But from Joey Ferris, he said, "Will I like this game even though I didn't love the first one? I usually enjoy games like this, but the first Outer Worlds didn't have the sauce, so to speak." Bobby, I'll throw it over to you. Like, as we conclude our discussion about this, do you think that there's enough here that kind of stands the test of what the Outer Worlds did in the first place? Does it do enough differently? Does it improve on what it means to be a Western RPG in 2025?
So that's a really loaded question, because it's just like, is it more of the same? And to that answer, it is. It really is more of the same. But you can tell that the shift from being an independent studio to being owned by Microsoft gives them a cash injection that really lets these combat mechanics, these characters, these traits, these worlds really, shine, and like they really are elevated. So like, if you didn't mesh with the first one, maybe at first you won't like it, but the characters and the quest lines that you have with these people, and like the relationship you start building with them, it's worth sticking around for, because they do end up being some of the best stuff you'll play this year. And to that point, Joey, if you haven't played even Avowed, like, that is more in line with what this game is than Outer Worlds 1, because it's almost a 7-year gap between games. Like, they've evolved in that time span. Like, this is it's a AAA game without that banner.
Yeah,
it really does deliver on all these things that bigger games are known for. So I mean, I think you will mesh with it. I feel like it's different enough, but it's recognizable to anyone who's played the first game. So like, that is kind of the where I say it's loaded. So I mean, yes, I think you'll like it. It is so fun. It is really outrageous. It is a space game, but it doesn't make it a drama. And like, I love that. I like space where it's not, the end of the world, or you're dealing with, earth-ending trouble. It's just you're going on a quest to get some revenge, and it's fun. That's what it comes down to. It's a fun game. So yes, I think you'll like it. You should play it.
Cool. How about you, Hayes?
Yeah, I think largely I would agree. I think the answer is more a little maybe for me, and I think it really
Yeah.
just depends on what you didn't like about the
Yeah.
first one. If you enjoyed kind of the setting and the narrative, but you wish the combat was a little better, the guns were a little more unique, then yeah, I think you might enjoy Outer Worlds too. If you really did not enjoy the writing and the tone of Outer Worlds, I don't think you're probably going to enjoy too, because like we said at the start, it only goes even harder on those things. So it really does depend on kind of where your issues lied with the first one. I guess if you listen to this whole thing, kind of if what the second game does kind of addresses those issues you had, then yeah, I think you would.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think, yeah, it really does come down to the nuances of what didn't vibe with you about the Outer Worlds, the first game. Though I would say that I think that there's enough compelling systems, a narrative, the world building, the world itself, exploration, that it's at least worth a shot.
Yeah.
I would say, though, maybe give it at least 2 hours before you can kind of make that final judgment call. The opening of this game is a little slower, like we've talked about, and it kind of takes a little bit to kind of understand the fundamentals and the nuances. But that being said, I do think that if we're looking like from top to bottom, is this a better game than Outer Worlds? Absolutely. I think from the systems, the way it plays, this is truly what Obsidian, like how you define Obsidian in 2025. This is how you do it. Even when we compare it to Avowed, I think that you can see these two games are radically different, and one is clearly the marquee and one is kind of like the side project. And I think Outer Worlds 2 is as close to New Vegas as we've ever been. I'm not out here, going to say whether or not it tops it or not. I hold New Vegas near and dear to my heart. I adore that game. But I think in terms of just the bravado, what Obsidian kind of represents within the industry, what they're known for and what they can accomplish, Outer Worlds 2 is kind of exactly what I've wanted from the studio.
It's a little ethereal to say it this way, but I like the spirit of the game is most in line with New Vegas to me.
Absolutely.
Almost even over the first Outer Worlds.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially going back to the approach to the grayness of it all, of making decisions that matter. I feel like this is the game that even as much as I liked Avowed, I never felt like the decisions, they were kind of pseudo choices. Like, yeah, you're still going to get to the end of this game almost the same way, no matter what you kind of do or choose, or it's kind of about the journey more than the destination. I think that this is a perfect marriage of the journey and the destination, where your choices really do matter throughout the game. And yeah, I think that they really nailed it. I'm happy that a studio like Obsidian really does exist and gets to exist, especially with under the Xbox umbrella, and within the industry as a whole. That it's very trepidatious out there. So a studio that can kind of stick to its laurels as much as it has, I think needs to be commended. So I think by and large, Obsidian has finally made me appreciate and downright love Outer Worlds, which I didn't really think that would happen after the first game. As much as I liked it, I didn't know I would ever love this universe, but I had a lot of fun with this top to bottom.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was hard to put down. Like I know that it really makes me want more games like this. Like I'm really kind of craving a new Fallout now. Like it's the next logical thing. It's like I love Western RPGs as much as I love JRPGs, and I'm like, this is probably one of the best ones so far. So like more of this. Give us more. Like I feel like it's the perfect length. Like it comes down to perfect length. I need more. I need more of it. Like I actually ended up wanting more so far. Like I know I can probably double my playtime, but like it's just like how much, I don't know. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I do like what they've done. It really does just make me want like another Fallout at the end. Like that's where I'm trying to go with this. It's just knowing Obsidian made the best Fallout. I really want them to kind of move to that.
Fair enough.
Especially right now too, because there's like, we know the issues in the industry, but there's a real lack of Western RPGs right now for various reasons.
Yeah.
And so I think this really kind of scratches an itch that nothing really has been able to. Not
Yeah.
the least of which is like, we haven't gotten a Mass Effect game in God knows 10 years, something like that. So yeah, this is like the closest we've gotten to that big sci-fi epic. I mean, Starfield is there, but I did not vibe with Starfield. So
I liked it, but yeah, ultimately it was not Bethesda's best game. I feel like it was, having all that procedural stuff really ruined it for me, and that's probably what killed that momentum. So
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think Obsidian really should be the studio that Microsoft, nurtures and invests in. And I'm not not to knock any other studios that are in that stable, like we have a great roster, but like these guys are firing on all cylinders. We've got 2 big games this year. I think it was 2. We got
3.
Avowed at the beginning.
yeah,
3.
Grounded too. Also,
I forgot about Grounded. So three pretty successful games in 1 year. So like give them their flowers, give them a bonus, and just let them make great games for you. Like these are the guys you want nurtured, and you want to have that creative freedom to just let them run wild. Like give them some of Bethesda's IP. Let them work on them. Like I would love for them to return to what we all want.
Yeah.
New Vegas 2, or I guess even, can you imagine an Obsidian developed Skyrim or Elder Scrolls?
Sure.
that'd be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Hayes, thank you so much for taking time to join us on this review. If you want to go read your review and connect with you online, where could they do so?
Yeah, it's going to be at inverse.com, and find me primarily on Bluesky, sometimes X at Soulfleet on both.
Very cool. And Bobby, how about you?
Yep. You can find me, B. Pashalides, on Bluesky. Follow us, consolecreatures.com. Check out the site. And follow us on all our socials. Like, we really appreciate it. And, we have a really big contest that just went live. So if you're listening and you like Legend of Zelda, please check that out. Follow the rules, and hopefully one of you will win. It's a pretty cool prize pack.
That's cool. Yes, absolutely. We appreciate you all for taking the time to hang out, listen to this. I hope it was very informative, and hope you, if it spoke to you, get you a little excited for the Outer Worlds 2, which comes out later this month. But that's it for us and for me. You can find me across the internet at Aspectvari. You can keep tuning into the live feeds here, where we'll be talking about more games as the fall goes on, because there's never a break. There's just never a break for video games. So we're just going to keep talking about them. But we appreciate you all, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.